guys, Justin Fuller here, and today we're going to be reviewing this 2024 Honda CRV EXL behind me. We're going to compare this car to the Toyota RAV4, the Mazda CX-5, and the Subaru Forester. I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to tell you how this one is different from the 2023. So let's hop on in. So let's talk about what's underneath the hood of this vehicle. So I'm gonna pull you on in. This is a 1.5 liter turbo engine putting out 190 horsepower, sending that out to a CVT transmission and then out to your wheels. All right guys, so as I mentioned, this is a 1.5 liter putting out 190 horsepower. If you were looking at the 2023 version of this vehicle, the exact same engine. Now, if you jump up to a hybrid model, you're gonna be looking at a 2-liter engine that's putting out 204 horsepower. So just something to keep in mind whether you're jumping to that 23 or thinking, hey, I might wanna look at a hybrid model. But while we're here, I wanna talk about horsepower comparison. So I'm gonna throw up a comparison on the screen so you can see how this 190 horsepower 1.5 liter engine competes with that RAV4, that Subaru, and that CX-5. So I'm back here by the gas cap and I wanna talk to you about miles per gallon. So this car gets 27 in the city and 32 on the highway. Now, if you're looking at the previous generation, not a whole lot of change. Now, if you want to jump up to that hybrid model, I believe you're looking at like 43 in the city and 36 on the highway, so quite a bit of extra if you're looking into the hybrid. But while we're here, I want to throw up a comparison so you can see how this 27 and 32 stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. So take a look at that on the screen and we'll keep on going. So if you're SUV shopping, chances are cargo space is going to play a role into your purchase. So let's talk about the back of this vehicle. So as we look back here, you can see I've got quite a bit of space. You've got 39.3 cubic feet of space from the back seats to here. Now, if you're looking at a 2022, it's gonna be 39.2, so almost negligible on the difference. But while we're back here, I wanna point out a couple things. One, this car comes with 4 carpeted floor mats. That is standard in Hondas. You don't have to pay extra for those. Be aware of that. Not everybody does that. Now, this piece is a cargo tray. They have added this from the dealership. If you're interested in stuff like a cargo tray or all-season floor mats or whatever, I will throw down in the description some links to Amazon purchases and different things that I've reviewed that are pretty good products, so you don't spend a ton of money on these things. Now, below this, you're gonna have your spare, which is a full diameter spare, meaning full height, just not full width. And then you've got your jack and your accessories and this magic funnel that I wanna tell you about. Now, this magic funnel isn't to be the tiniest coronet or to be a Shiwi, and if you don't know what that is, I dare you to look it up. But what this is for is if you run out of gas, I need a way to open this up, right? I need to hold this open because it's capless now, it has a valve. That's what this is for. But while we're here, I want to talk about 2 things. One, if this ever gets stuck and you can't get it open, it's connected to the door locks. If you come on around to the other side, there's actually a little panel here. If you pull this, there's a wire you can pull, and it'll usually prevent it from getting stuck, and then boom, it'll pop right open. So we talked about the 39.3 cubic feet of cargo space that you have in the back of this car. Now that 2023 model is gonna have 39.2, almost negligible. But I wanna throw a comparison up so you can see how this car's cargo space from here back stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. So take a look at that while I fold these seats down. Now, once I get these down, I'll remind you that one from previous generations, there's a hump here now. It's kind of a bummer. If you go back a couple years, it was very flat. So if you ever had a cam in your car, it was kind of nice that it didn't have this, but you know, it is what it is, right? But I want to talk to you. Now you've got 76.5 cubic feet of cargo space in the back of this car. If you're looking at the previous gen, 2023, it's 75.8. So not a ton difference, but it is a little bit bigger. But I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can understand how the 2024 model stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. Now, if you're wondering, does this model have a powered tailgate? The answer is absolutely yes. So all I've got to do is touch the back of that and it will pop open. So be aware of that. If I ever need to adjust the height of this, also a quick tip or trick, all you've got to do is move it to whatever height you want, press and hold until you hear a double beep inside. And boom, now it'll be set to this height. So just a nice tip to know. Not every model has the powered tailgate, so I'll throw it up on the screen so you can see which trims have it and which don't, so you can understand. All right, guys, so before we go any further, there's something important I want to talk to you about when you're shopping around for a CRV, and that's understanding the trim levels, right? Because it's the hardest thing to figure out when you're trying to figure out what do I need and what do I want to buy, right? So to give you an understanding of the trim levels, the base model is an LX, which if you haven't seen that, I've made a video on it, and I'll throw up a link to that. Above that is your EX, right? Both of these are non-hybrids. Then you go to the Sport Hybrid, right? So that's the first available Sport Hybrid that's out there. Now, above that is this vehicle, the EXL. Now, above that is a Sport L Hybrid, which is brand new for 2024. You will not find that trim level on the 2023 model. And then above that is the Sport Touring. That's all the bells, all the whistles, right? So first I want you to understand that there are like 6 different trims for this vehicle. Now, with that said, you're in an interesting spot if you're looking at the EXL because above you is a hybrid and below you is a hybrid, right? So I want you to understand one thing. If I jump up to that Sport L Hybrid, 1, how much extra money is it gonna cost me? And then 2, what are the extra items that I'm getting out of this, right? If I'm paying extra, what am I getting for it? So take a look at that list so you can understand that. And then after you've looked at that, let's go the other way. If I'm in this EXL, I'm thinking, well, if I could drop down to a hybrid, get better gas mileage, but I have to lose a couple things. One, how much money am I gonna save? And then two, what is the list of items that I'm going to be giving up? So I want you to be able to take a look at that as well. So today's video is actually sponsored by Byte tags. You probably don't know what Byte tags are, but I'm gonna tell you. Byte tags are for your furry friends, much like Hera here, you might see in a video. So these aren't just your normal tag that has a name and a phone number on it. So let me show you how these work. All right, guys, so I have my dog's collar, and I have specifically your Byte tag, right? And on the back, there's the QR code that says, hey, if you found this dog, please scan this. So I went ahead and scanned it. Now, when you scan the tag, this is gonna pop up. You're gonna see her entire profile that I've built. This is specifically her, so you're gonna see the edit buttons and so forth and so on. The only thing that you're not gonna see on here is that it's gonna provide a button to provide your location as the person who found the dog to me, the person who owns the dog, right? So on here, you're gonna just see a brief profile, the age, the weight, the gender of my dog, some phone numbers that you can call to reach, my address, and then down below it, you're gonna see, of course, the vet information, jump over to her health information in case there's allergies or anything like that, and then behavior. Now, arguably, one of my favorite things about Byte tags is that it's non-subscription based. You purchase the tag, from there on, you're good to go. So if this is something you're interested in, I'll throw a link in the description of this video so that you can go on here, find the tag that you want, right? Maybe you want this pink tag. Drop in my promo code right over there, which is JF, my initials, save you a couple bucks, and you'll be good to go. So here we are in the second row of this vehicle, and if I'm sitting behind a 6-footer, I've got plenty of space, and I'm a 6-footer, and I'm about 250, so I'm not a little human. But let me flip this around and kind of show you. You have got 41 inches of leg space back here, so I easily fit behind myself, so nothing to worry about when it comes to that. Related to leg space though, I want you to understand that this vehicle, the 2024, has 41 inches of leg space. If you go to that 2023 model, you're looking at 40.4 inches of leg space. So there is somewhat of a difference there and something to be aware of. But while we're here, I want to talk about a comparison. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen so you can understand how does this car stack up to some of those other makes and models out there in the world. Once you've taken a look at that, let's look at some amenities back here. All right, guys, so in the back of this car, amenity-wise, this car comes with leather. You're seeing the black leather right here. Now, most of these vehicles are going to offer either one or two different types of interiors as far as color goes, and then it's either going to be cloth or leather. So the first thing I'm going to throw up is what has cloth and what has leather, so you can understand the trim levels and what they offer. Now, after that, I'm going to throw up something so you can understand for the models that do offer leather, what are those options, right? Do I get black? Do I get gray? Do I get tan? What is it? Because it's very important to understand, because if you live somewhere like Texas, black leather might not be the best choice, but if you're in a more moderate temperature, maybe that makes more sense. All right, guys, so here we are up in the front row of this vehicle. Now, I want to talk to you about leg space. You've got 41.3 inches of leg space in the front of this vehicle. That is the exact same in the 2023 model on every trim and for a few years now, so not a lot of change there. But I want you to understand how that leg space compares with other makes and models out there in the world. So I'll throw that up on the screen so you can see how this car stacks up. Now let's talk about steering wheel controls and then what's behind me on the cluster. Since it is digital on the left side, I want to walk you through some of these features. So up here, I've got my home button that's going to allow me to get to all these different options, and then I toggle my finger right here. So just so you can see what I'm doing, my voice command button is here, my volume knob, and then jumping between tracks, right? On the other side of this is where some of those Honda sensing features are, which I'll go over in just a minute because I'm going to talk to you about all the safety features available to you in a moment. So let's talk about the cluster up here. Okay, guys, so let's walk you through this menu just so you can understand what's in here, right? And what's available to you. So phone obviously allows you to jump into your Bluetooth. Navigation, this will allow you to see those turn-by-turn directions in here and on the touchscreen if you're taking advantage of it. So something kind of cool if you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Driver attention, this is a newer feature. It's just if you're using all the different safety features in the cruise control, it can kind of make sure that you're still actively paying attention and driving the vehicle. All-wheel drive torque distribution. This is kind of a really cool feature. When you're driving, you can select this and it'll show you which mode you're driving in, whether it's two-wheel drive or it flips over to all-wheel drive. That's what's different from all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive, you have to manually shift to go into four-wheel drive, whereas all-wheel drive, it does it automatically for you. So if you didn't know, just kind of a nice fact. Now, seatbelt, this is cool. They just added this in a couple years ago. It will let you know if anyone is in the car and they're not wearing their seatbelt. This is fantastic if you have little ones or kids that you're kind of concerned, hey, did they put their seatbelt, did they not? This way you can monitor and check it very easily. Now, below that, maintenance, anytime your car gets down to 15% oil, it'll give you an alert. It'll throw you a code A1, B1, you know, whatever the case may be, and you can Google that, and it'll tell you exactly what the dealership would recommend to you, right? So nothing sneaky here. They've been doing this for years. Take advantage of it. And when you get down to 15%, it will send you like an audible alert and show up on the screen. Now, a reminder, this car uses a synthetic blend, so you're probably gonna get about 8,500 miles before you need your first oil change. So keep on moving down here. Safety support suite. So I will talk about all of this here in just a second, so let's skip past this one. And then no content if I just want to like clean this up, right? And then brightness if I want to affect that, right? We all understand how that works. And gauge display. Now gauge display is going to allow me to turn on and off some of these features. So if I don't want to see range and speed or a particular feature that I don't use, like the driver attention monitor, maybe I'm like, I'm never going to look at that. Let me just remove that so it's not in this menu as we scroll around. Kind of nice to have. Now your warnings is like if the hood is unlatched or some, a door isn't quite closed all the way, that's what's going to appear here. Range and fuel, we all understand that. And then speed and time also. And then when I jump into audio, depending on what audio options I have, whether I'm taking advantage of the HD radio for FM or AM, maybe I'm using Bluetooth, maybe I'm using something plugged into USB like a thumb drive, or I'm using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I've got a lot of different options here. All right, guys, so let's talk about safety features inside of this car. Part of what makes Hondas worthwhile to buy, I think, to most people is one, safety, and two, reliability. So I want to describe some of the safety features, and I'll show you where a couple of the buttons are and some of the options, right? So in the front of this car, you've got radar and a camera up here to detect vehicles in front of you. So for collision mitigation braking, what that means is if it's looking like I'm going to rear in another car, it can give me an audible alert flash in the dash and then actually apply the brakes to help prevent an accident. So a really cool feature, right? And that's always on and running, but you can turn it off. Understand you can turn all of these features off if you're just one of those people who doesn't want them on. Now, next to that, you've got lane keep assist, which is going to be on the steering wheel, and I'll show you in just a second. Lane keep assist is designed when I turn this feature on, which here, let me grab you and I'll show you. If I flip you around, that's this button right here. When I turn it on, you'll see this. It'll start actively reading the lines using the camera up there. Now, what that means is that when it picks up the lines, if I start to drift a little bit to the left or the right, it'll actually steer me and keep me centered. So that way, if I spill something, if I was distracted, my kids started talking, my dog jumped on me, whatever the case may be, it can help keep in your lane so you don't drift into somebody next to you. Now, related to that feature, you also have road departure mitigation. And what that's designed for is if I start to drift off the shoulder over the road, the car can be an audible alert and then actually vibrate the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention. Typically that happens if you're like drowsy or you could be distracted, right? So understand that you have that as well. Now, this car has adaptive cruise control, and that's also on the steering wheel. So let me flip you around again here and show you. When I get up to speed, all I would do is want to set my speed, and then I could select this. So I'm gonna set here, and then I can select the distance. When I select this, you're gonna see some boxes appear up there, and you can see them kind of appearing and disappearing. Now, what that means is the more boxes that I have, the more distance it's gonna keep between me and the car in front of me. So if I'm going 70 or 80, maybe I'm speeding, right? I'm in the fast lane, and I come up on a guy going 65, it'll actually determine that space and slow me down to 65 until I get around him, and then it'll take me back up to my speed. So that way I don't have to turn off the cruise, turn it back on, so forth and so on. Now, if you don't want to use that feature, you just want classic cruise, all you got to do is press the button with all the boxes on it till you hear a beep, and now it's just classic cruise. Turn it back over. Now it's adaptive cruise. So very easy to switch this between the two, and understand you don't have to use it if you don't want to take advantage of it. So another feature that this vehicle offers is blind spot monitoring. I think most everybody knows what that is, but I'll show you real quick. So I'm gonna flip you around here and show you. On your mirrors, you've got a little icon there, and if somebody is in your blind spot, it will light up. If you start to get over, it'll actually give you an audible alert in the car to say, hey, there's somebody there. Don't do that. So understand that this vehicle offers that feature. Not every trim offers the blind spot monitoring, so just be aware of that. So I'll throw up on the screen some of the vehicles that do and don't offer it so that you can understand trim level wise, hey, is this something I want to take advantage of? Now let's talk about a couple safety features that every single Honda offers. One, this car has 8 airbags, 2 front, 2 side, 2 full curtain, and 2 knee airbags. So understand safety-wise, you've got a lot going on there. Now, this car also has what's called ACE body design, which is advanced compatibility engineering. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, what it is it's designed to have certain crinkle zones to push everything out and around the car safety-wise. So if you are in a wreck, it lets the engine fall below so it doesn't get pushed up in the cabin and hurt anyone. And it's got crinkle zones around the car to help push debris and everything out and around to protect you, your family, your little ones, your dogs, whatever's important to you, including life, right? So kind of cool to know that every Honda offers this feature. It's something that is proprietary to them. It doesn't exist out there. It's not something other makes and models have. So just be aware of that. So let's talk about what arguably is one of the most important things to most people, and that's going to be your touch screen. So you can see what we've got in this car, a nice cleaned screen. It's aimed up and it's nice and close to you, so it's very visible. I like that they put in a volume button, a basic home button, and a back button. So this was kind of a point of contention over a couple years ago where you had to slide your finger up and down the slider. It was kind of a pain in the butt. So on here, easy enough to understand, accessing Bluetooth, easy enough to do. I believe you can connect up to like 6 devices to a vehicle. You've got FM and AM. I don't think I need to explain that. Bluetooth audio, we all understand how that works now. Sirius XM, this car comes with 90 days of Sirius XM, and then afterwards it'd be up to you if you want to continue that. Trip computer, we all know what a trip computer is. It's just nice to see it here versus over in the dash. USBs, if I wanted to store music on one, I absolutely could. I'm going to pull that up and listen to it. Jumping over general settings, this is where if I want to affect things like, you know, connecting up a phone, connections, the display, the sound, like equalizer, stuff like that. So very basic stuff. Now, next to that is going to be where you're going to find the vehicle settings. So this is where you're going to control like door and window setups. If you want to control, you know, when I touch the door handle, which doors unlock, how long the lights stay on. If I hit the unlock button on the key fob, does it unlock one door or all doors? Just all those different settings. If you haven't seen it, I've got a tips and tricks video. I'll actually throw it up there at the top of the screen, a link to it, and it'll be in the description of this video in case you want to understand some cool things that you can do with your Honda CRV, whether it's a 23 or a 24, because in that aspect, they're the exact same. So continuing on over here, AM, we don't need to talk about. System updates are done via Wi-Fi, so very easy to do. Clock and wallpaper, you can just kind of have something you can customize back here. Nothing super special there, but you can understand that. Moving over one, Honda Link. This is set up to where you can have a lot of different options available to you. Most of them are subscription based, and depending on the trim level, they might give you some basics to try out, right? Like some trials. So understand that you can go to, I believe, HondaLink.com and kind of check that out if it's something you're interested in. One feature that all vehicles get for free is in the event that you get in an accident, the airbags deploy, they can call you. If you don't answer, they can send EMS out to your last known location. So kind of a cool additional safety feature that Honda offers. This car does have a compass. I get asked about that quite a bit, so kind of cool that they've done that. Smart shortcut. This starts to determine something that you select a lot, and then it'll place that button there. So it'll change kind of as you go. I think at this point, a lot of phones do this as well, where it'll kind of drop in a button occasionally that you might be using. So it just kind of does that based off of like algorithms, right? So one more and you're to your display. So easy enough to understand what you've got here. If you ever want to move these buttons around, very easy to do, guys. All you got to do is press and hold, and it'll actually pull this up. And then from here, I can then move stuff around, right? So if I want to move a button and put this button over here, or get rid of a button, or change these bottom ones, I absolutely can. And it'll even give you tips and like a basic understanding of how to do it there. And then once you're done, just hit that. So very easy to understand. Now, this car has a wireless setup, right? So I have wirelessly connected my phone up to Android Auto. I use a Google Pixel Pro 7. So I'm going to show you that. But if you're an Apple user, it won't matter. It's the exact same. All you got to do is connect it up to the car, and then you'll see it highlight right here. So I'm going to jump into this. Now, while you're in here, you'll get all your access to your apps that are compatible with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So if you want to take advantage of Google Maps, Waze, TomTom, you know, whatever it may be, as far as your GPS, you absolutely can. And then your audio, right? I'm a Spotify guy, but maybe you're a Pandora person, or you use another streaming service, or maybe you're in a podcast, right? And you want to listen to that, whatever the case may be, understand you can take advantages. Now, in here, there's a lot of cool things you can do. You can customize the background. I've added in a bunch of shortcuts, just as examples. So if I wanted it to immediately send me to Starbucks, the nearest one, or McDonald's, or Home Depot, I absolutely can set that up. It's a shortcut. Also, I've set up to where I can call my Google phone number here. So if you wanted to set up a significant other or friend, somebody you call regularly, you can just press that and it immediately starts calling them. Instead of using a voice command or go find it on the phone or do all that nonsense, just takes a little bit longer. If you want to know how to set those up, that is also in my tips and tricks video. So know that you can take advantage of that. And there's other stuff too, as far as how to customize this, you know, where I change the background settings. If I actually, you know, what you can do down here, wallpaper, super simple to do, just select it, it'll change and then you're good to go. But a cool one is you can flip these. If you want your GPS to be over here and your music closer, understand you can do that too. And I show how to do that in the tips and tricks as well. So it is actually a pretty good video. Just saying, check it out, but I might be a little bit biased. So understand that the car does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is wireless in this car. If you were thinking about changing trims, not all trims offer a wireless connection. So I'll throw something up on the screen so you can understand which trim levels do and do not have wireless CarPlay. If you find yourself looking at a model that doesn't have wireless CarPlay, understand that I actually just did a review on a dongle that you can buy for 69 bucks that'll make it wireless. So I'll throw a link up in the top and in the description so that you can check that out. It's like a 2-minute video that'll show you how it works. Super simple. I'm an affiliate, so I can get you some savings on that. So understand you can take advantage of that. Well, in case you find yourself looking at a trim level but wishing it had wireless CarPlay. All right, guys, so we made it through the entire video, and now I'm going to revisit all those comparisons. So if you didn't watch the whole thing or you kind of scrubbed through, this is the spot to pay attention to, because I'm going to hit them all up at once, right? So we're going to start at the very front of the car. This car gets 190 horsepower out of that 1.5 liter turbo engine. So I'm going to throw a comparison up so you can see how this car stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. While that's up there, I'll mind you, if you jump down to the 2023, the exact same, not a change in the engine. However, if you are looking at a hybrid versus the non-hybrid, you're looking at a 2-liter engine that puts out 204 horsepower versus the 1.5 that puts out the 190 horsepower. So just something to keep in mind. Now, next I want to talk to you about miles per gallon. This car gets 27 in the city and 32 on the highway. So I'm going to throw that comparison up so you can see how this car stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. Now, 23 versus 24, I think it's almost negligible or the exact same. But understand if you're looking at that hybrid, I want to say it gets like 43 and 36, so there is some significant jump jumps if you're looking at the hybrid model. So it's something to pay attention to. Now, let's talk about the front row. You've got 41.3 inches of leg space in this car. So I'll throw that up on the screen, see how this car stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. Understand while that's up, 23 versus a 24, they're the exact same, so it's not gonna matter as far as the front row leg space. Now, in the second row, you have got 41 inches in this 2024. I'm gonna throw that comparison up and see how this car stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. While that is up, I will remind you that the 23 only had 40.4 inches of leg spaces versus the 41 inches you get in the 24. So there is a difference there. Now, when you go to cargo space, there are also differences, right? So this car has 39.3 cubic feet with the seats folded up, right? So it's standard cargo space. I'll throw the comparison up so you see how this car stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. A reminder, the 23 has 39.2, so while it is a tiny bit, it is different, so just something to be aware of. But when you flip those seats down, this car has 76.5 cubic feet of cargo space, which is actually pretty good. So I'm gonna throw that comparison up so you can see how this stacks up to other makes and models out there in the world. While that's up, I will remind you that another difference, the 2023 only has 75.8 cubic feet. So 75.8 versus 76.5, maybe that matters to you, maybe it doesn't. It really depends on how you're gonna use the car, right? If you're in a band and you got a drum kit that you're gonna throw in the back, maybe that matters. If you camp a lot, maybe that matters. But if it's just, hey, I might throw a couple things back there and occasionally dog, yeah, you're probably okay. A good thing to understand is the 23 versus the 24, if you're looking at like this EXL, you could really get the 23 and save yourself about $1,000 because the starting price of the 2024s is roughly a little bit more than $1,000 now, more for a 24 than it is a 23, and that's across all trims. So something to be aware of. The big differences for the 24 to the 23 are really gonna be the additional $1,000 that everything's gonna cost, and then secondarily, that additional trim that they've added in. So they added in that Sport L trim that doesn't exist in that 2023 model. While we're on trims, just a reminder, if you wanna jump up a trim to the Sport L, hey, what is it gonna cost me? And what is that list of items I'm gonna get? Throw that up on the screen. And then secondarily, if you're thinking about going from this down to that Sport Hybrid, well, how much money is it gonna save me? And then what are the list of items I'm gonna have to give up? So throw that up on the screen as well. So as we head on out of here, I want to ask you for a couple favors. One, I hope you'll press that like button to help push this car review further up in the algorithm. Second, I hope you leave a comment. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please do leave a comment. Or if you think I'm doing a pretty good job, leave a comment and let me know that too. Third, I hope you'll share this video. If you find that it's helpful for you to, hopefully it'll be helpful to others. So if you find a platform that you're on where some others could use it, share it. And then lastly, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel so that I can let you know about these good videos when I put them out. So I hope you will like, comment, subscribe, share, all of the things. Later, guys!